I do. It'll be done probably after the other film comes out, the one that I'm working on for release now. It's a lot of work to do that. There'll be a lot of work because all of that material has to really be digitized and everything to make it available in a way that it won't deteriorate it, because it's old.
Is there interviews with the model?
Well, what he's referring to, see, I had traveled around the world after Baba dropped his body beginning in 1970. It started with Adi Amerji's tour to the West when they first came, and we traveled all around the country with them, filming them in all the different places that they had been, hearing all the stories, incredible stories that they were telling. And then I went to India the following year with a crew of 4 people, and we filmed all the disciples in the Mandali for 1 month solid Merabat, day and night. It was going on. And this was before they even told their stories to anybody yet. So everything was fresh. Also, there was a lot of them living then that aren't here today. So it was an incredibly good record of first-hand accounts of the stories of their lives with Baba, first-hand accounts. And then we traveled throughout Europe and all the European disciples, and later we went to Australia and did all of the Australians. And one thing about Australia, Baba had visited Australia twice, and the first time he was in Australia, he was really so loving and so sweet and so wonderful in the way that he was with all the people that came to see him. But the second time, he was there for business. He wanted to know who loved him, who would obey him, who would surrender their life to him. I mean, they were shocked because Baba came very strong that time. And now the romance was going to be there, but you had to do the real business of surrender to the beloved. And Baba said a lot of things about Australia. One of them was that he would give the Australians a culture. He would provide a culture for them. And then he said, and he,
I love that.
he would provide.
I'll take exception to that remark.
Oh, well, he told them so many things, and it's, that's what all these films were about, because they were all first-hand accounts of all of the people. I went to Sydney, to Melbourne, to Brisbane, to Avatar's abode. We interviewed Francis Brabazon, who had lived with Baba for 10 years, every day. I mean, he had also incredible things. He was having some problems with memory, but when we were there, he remembered everything. Yeah, he really did. He didn't want to be interviewed, and I think it was mainly because he was having these problems, and he had gotten Alzheimer's or something. But Baba lifted it for the time that we were there, so that he could tell as much as he could. And it was a great visit,
What about the movie, Irwin? How did that come about?
This film? Well, in 1980, I had this roll of film which was deteriorating very rapidly. And it was the film that Deshmukh had made. Deshmukh had actually shown the original film so many times that it was all torn up. I mean, physically, that film was such a mess. It required a lot of reconstruction just to get the sprocketing and everything else, just so that it could even be copied. And I chose that film to start with because it was in such poor condition and needed to be saved. At the time, there was no thought to make a whole production out of it. It was just to copy it, make a safety negative or something, just so it could continue to exist. And so that was the first step. But then in the process of doing that, it turned out that, it was so beautiful. When I looked at certain scenes, I said, we really got to do something more than just coming out with this as just a little patchwork of clips together. No doubt, I remember when Bill LePage had seen a copy of it at the time, he said that, how can you come out with a film like this? This is only about 10 minutes of it that's any good. So I said, well, Bill, you have no idea what we're doing with it. We're going to save the whole thing. And as it turned out, I mean, the end result was that from this 25-minute piece of footage that we had from what Deshmukh, was salvaged from Deshmukh, there was an hour and 20-minute movie made from it. And to give you some idea of what was done, there's one scene, for instance, that you see Baba playing marbles. Remember that marble scene where he's shooting marbles? And he's saying how he plays marbles with the universe? Well, that scene in its original form would have been, you would never have seen it. It was only 10 frames long. And 10 frames means that when it goes through a projector at 24 frames a second, that's less than half a second. So obviously you can't use it. It would have been edited. So many scenes would have been edited. Bill would have been right if it was dealt with in a way that most films are. But what we ended up doing is turning that scene into about 45 seconds, which was in full motion. And it wasn't just freezing the frame, and just letting it go for however long. This was in full motion of Baba shooting marbles. And it rescued probably one of the only shots anywhere of him doing that particular thing. And it gave time in the film for us, for Baba to say what he was doing, that he was shooting, that he would shoot marbles with the universe, and, how he loves games, and various other things that he was saying about it at the time.